Hello, everyone. I'm TJ Kennedy, Venture Advisor at the AI Fund. We're so glad you can spend part of your day here at Ready23 with us. Ready23 is hosted by RapidSOS. If you're not familiar, RapidSOS is an intelligence safety platform that securely links life-saving data to monitoring centers, 911, and first responders in emergencies. At Ready23, we aim to foster a sense of unity and shared purpose among all stakeholders in the emergency response ecosystem. Ready23 is an opportunity to connect, collaborate, and catalyze change in the world of public safety and emergency response. We encourage you to actively engage on this virtual event platform, Vega, and participate in this event. Today, we are joined by a panel of experts from both the business and public safety sectors, including Ralph de la Vega, former chairman and CEO of AT&T, Terry Kramer, faculty director, UCLA Easton Technology Management Center, and Jonathan Peachey, managing director, growth and product innovation for Accenture Song. Panelists, can you please introduce yourself and shed some light on why you're here talking about emergency response? Let's begin with Ralph, followed by Terry, and last but not least, Jonathan.
Thank you, TJ. While I was vice chairman and CEO of Business Solutions and International at AT&T, one of the biggest projects that we worked on was actually FirstNet. That was the last thing that I did at AT&T. And it was a great example of a public-private partnership that brought about incredible technology to the public safety agencies. Not only was it great from a technology point of view, but we got all 50 states to opt into the platform. So the effort by the regulatory teams, the finance teams, and the operational teams was something that I'm very proud of. So that was what I did as vice chairman. Now, prior to that, I was the CEO of AT&T Mobility and its predecessor companies for a period of about 10 years. During that period, there was tremendous growth in the wireless industry and tremendous innovation. So I had the opportunity to work with some of the greatest innovators at the time, including Steve Jobs in helping to launch the iPhone as an exclusive on the AT&T network, working with Travis Kalanick to launch the Uber application on those same phones, and finally working with Elon Musk at Tesla to connect all the Tesla cars. I think innovation is a great enabler of business. It's not solely the thing to look at, but over that 10-year period, our business grew by $50 billion, and we won the J.D. Power Award for the retail store satisfaction 9 times in a row. So I think innovation is good for business, and I'm very proud to tell you that since I left AT&T, I have my own advisory and investment firm now. I basically invest in companies that solve difficult problems with innovative technologies. And one of my first investments was RapidSOS. So I want to disclose that I'm a RapidSOS advisor and investor, and I truly believe in its vision to help public safety be the best that it can be.
Thank you so much, Ralph. Terry.
Yes, so similar to Ralph, I had the good fortune of working in the wireless industry to begin with. So 18 years at Vodafone. And I started in 88 and stayed till about 2010. And the reason I mentioned the years is in 88, I remember when we were first looking to invest in wireless properties. This was Pactel Communications. It later became AirTouch, later became Vodafone. And I remember there were debates about what percent of the population are ever going to want a cell phone. And there was the biggest debate over 10% mobile penetration. And it's just comical now looking back on it, because during that period of time, it's well over 100% penetration. And so that opportunity to see how things became mobile, and the whole mantra became anything you can do at home or office, you should be able to do on the go. So I had a great fortune of working in the industry through the growth of a global presence in the business. Had a chance, and we'll talk about in a minute, to see the whole mobile internet piece come with the iPhone, et cetera, and the ecosystem that was created. Later, worked in the State Department in the Obama administration, negotiating an internet governance treaty, all about the importance of a free and open internet. That to me was a real reminder about the power of technology, the power of mobility, and the important impact that it's got on society. And then finally, I've been teaching now for the past 10 years at the business school at UCLA, leading up the Technology Management Center, teaching a variety of courses and getting a chance to really be exposing our students now to the power of data, which is really the latest kind of chapter in the story.
Yeah, we'll talk more about the power of data today as well. Thank you, Terry. Jonathan.
Thanks, TJ. So Jonathan Peachey, I have, like Ralph and Terry, had the pleasure of being an advisor to RapidSOS since 2017, so since the early days. I've spent most of my career developing and growing companies. I was the CEO of Virgin North America, where I worked alongside Sir Richard Branson, probably one of the world, I think he's still one of the world's most prolific entrepreneurs, to create companies like Virgin America, the low-fare airline, Virgin Hotels, Virgin Voyages, and Virgin Galactic, the commercial spaceline operator. I was the CEO of a wearable technology company focused on child safety called Phillip Technologies. And currently I'm a managing director at Accenture, where I help large and complex enterprises with their growth strategy and product innovation. Why am I here? I'm here because I love innovation. And I get excited about bringing together technology and human ingenuity to solve really hard problems at scale. And I can't think of a better place to do that than in public safety, where there's the opportunity to have a positive impact on millions of lives. So look forward to the discussion here.
Thank you, Jonathan. I don't think anyone could have said it better on why we're here to talk about it and why we believe in RapidSOS and the progress that has already been made. Really appreciate having all three of you on today, and our discussion is going to center around unlocking innovation within the public safety industry. And while we all know that technology has continually reshaped our lives over the past several decades, its integration into 911 systems has not always kept pace. So let's discuss why and touch on some lessons that our panelists have learned for really accelerating innovation and how we can adapt those learnings to the public safety sector. One of the goals for the future of 911 is to build sustainable innovation, much like we were able to do for FirstNet. 25 years of reinvestment are built in and continue to drive not just the backbone of communications for first responders, but the innovation that comes from a robust application and device ecosystem and constant innovation between the private sector and public safety agencies. So for all of us, what is the root cause behind technological innovation focusing on improving 911 and emergency call centers compared to other commercial sectors? So using all of your experience in the commercial world as well as in public safety, and what are the potential solutions going forward? Why don't we start with Ralph? You drove much of the technological change at AT&T through some pretty exciting periods. You talked about working with the likes of Steve Jobs and Elon Musk and really being at the heart of what happened when the iPhone came onto the network, and AT&T was the only network in the early days of the iPhone. I remember what a change that was for the company. And why don't you tell us about your thoughts on that?
You know, my thoughts about innovation, TJ, is that you can't wait these days for innovation to come to you. You have to seek it out and you have to bring it in. No matter the size of your company, innovation happens everywhere around the planet. And you have to be smart enough to be able to work with people who may be different than you, may have a different culture than you, but that have the same shared vision that you do to bring innovation to the marketplace. And that is one of the things that I think we always have to look for when we look for an innovation partner is, do you have somebody that shares your vision long-term of what you're trying to accomplish? But that alone is not enough. I think the other thing that I have found that is really a must is you must have trust and transparency. And you must build trust between the organizations, not just at the CEO level, but at every level in the organization, to bring the two cultures or two different companies together to act as one in delivering the technology. And finally, the last thing, and this is really an important one, you have to have flexibility. I can't tell you how often we work with a partner. We thought we had the structure, the contract the right way. It turns out the technology would not allow that to work. We had to change the contract. We had to change the financial terms. And so it is a constant process of going into the unknown with a company but the effort is what I think is really worth it. And this, let me just focus on one aspect of a shared vision so that you can understand what I'm talking about. When I first met Elon Musk, I was at his factory. He was actually sleeping in the factory. Things were so crazy back then. And when he explained to me that he was going to put this electric car together, and it's going to have a huge battery, it's going to have an internal operating systems, it's going to have applications, and it's going to be updated over the air. To me, I thought, it's a smartphone. That thing, and in fact, our team called it, it's a smartphone on wheels. And so, do we have a shared vision? Absolutely. We knew what he wanted to do, and we helped him to accomplish a first in the industry of taking that car anywhere, and anywhere it could get our update because we had a global network. And so that is one of the things that I wanted to highlight to you in terms of change. I can't tell you how many times we changed the Apple contract, from requiring a big fee up front to all the things that changed in between, and the partnership still held together. And the same example with FirstNet, TJ, you were a key player in that, and you know how many things we had to change financially, operationally, to make that a reality. So my message to you is make sure you have a shared vision, make sure there's trust and transparency with the players, and that you're flexible to see it through so that the benefits can be delivered to your customers wherever they may be.
I love that, the shared vision, the trust and transparency, and then having that flexibility. And I can only comment, how successful AT&T has been in executing on the FirstNet contract. And not only that, they saw the vision that we put forward as the FirstNet Authority for where we really thought the nation's public safety broadband network should go, and all the capabilities that it could have, and even pushed it further along. And I think that comes from that seeing that shared vision together, which is so important. Terry, I'm going to throw that same question over to you.
Yeah, absolutely. So I want to just add to Ralph's point. I think this issue about vision is absolutely key, because if you don't have kind of a clarifying vision about what you're trying to achieve, people are going in a lot of different directions, and it becomes frustrating over time. And, whether you call it the killer app or how you think people are going to be impacted, that to me is key. I would add two items and kind of emphasize two items. If I go back to the mobile days, so my Vodafone days, which we owned half of Verizon Wireless. So Ralph and I are still friends. We were both going after the US market well. One is the need for simplicity and scale. So, there's a tendency to kind of go niche on things because people get some one-off idea. But when you look at like what happened with the mobile internet, it was available to hundreds of millions of people and beyond. And with that, you have lower prices, you have easier use, you have interoperability, you have a whole bunch of things, but you have to kind of go in saying, I want scale. The second thing is you need an ecosystem. The early days, I remember when the iPhone first came out, and basically coming out of the telecom industry, we basically did almost everything ourselves. We were viewed that we owned the customer and all the applications. It was voice and messaging early on, but we kind of thought we could do everything ourselves. And what we realized is we're going to get a much bigger gain by being a little bit smaller part of a gigantic pie, as opposed to the other way around. And so said, hey, listen, when we partner with, Google, in their Android offering, and Apple with iOS, and the app stores that they had, and all of the developers that saw this common platform that they could go right against, all of a sudden you had magic. And that solution that was mobile internet was worth much more than anything that we could have done by ourselves. So that whole idea of being able to work in an ecosystem, Ralph's point about partnering, and the ability to think big, lots of scale, interoperability, et cetera, keep things simple, easy to use. I think those were the things that really kind of made all this work, and I think very relevant to Rapid SOS and 911.
Here, that's a great example of Android and iOS, and just really, adapting to the App Store, perspective of this massive ecosystem that is going to be driven by many different innovators. And that was kind of scary to telecoms back in the day, right? That you're losing control per se. I know we have both, Verizon, AT&T, Vodafone, represented here, as well as Virgin. And if you look at all those elements, it was definitely a scary leap, but look at where it's led to, and that amount of innovation after the past, 15 years or so that it's been.
Yeah. And I think to Ralph's point, the partnering and the vision, if you have kind of this zero-sum game mentality between everybody that you're partnering with, you're going to fight each other and be looking every minute to kind of take advantage of something. But instead, if you say, hey, listen, we're not going to be able to do this by ourselves. We've got this broader vision. You have trust in the relationship. You're able to create, something really big and great success story, fortunately.
No, I agree. And I love that part too, that with partners, you can move faster. And I think that's important, especially with very large companies, which we know sometimes throw a little bureaucracy in the way, that having partners that are small and innovative, partnering with large entities, really creates that magic. Let's pull in Jonathan. And when you were at Virgin, you really worked on some pretty interesting things and crazy innovative ideas. It's kind of the marquee of Richard Branson. And I think, why don't you share, that perspective of we should be thinking much bigger than we probably are in many cases, and that the crazy ideas are achievable.
Right. Absolutely. Happy to. And before I talk about Virgin specifically, the thing about innovation that a lot of people forget is so much of success is not just developing the right thing, but launching it at the right time. And an idea can be groundbreaking, but it won't work if the technology and often as well if society isn't ready to support it or embrace it. That's why groundbreaking innovations often lead to a paradigm shift and some serious second order benefits. And we've talked about the iPhone already, but think about what the iPhone has enabled in terms of commerce, communication, creativity. These inventions, these new technologies, these innovations that are right and on time, force people to see new possibilities, even though they may seem unbelievable or just like plain crazy at first. I was in Phoenix a couple of weeks ago, and I had the opportunity to ride my first driverless taxi with Waymo. And I will say self-driving cars are exactly the kind of technology I just talked about. They will change the paradigm in a number of different areas, not just moving people, but moving things as well, in a way that is probably safer than human drivers across a period of time. But turning to Virgin, so Virgin Galactic is probably the best example of a project that seemed completely crazy in 2004, and yet tomorrow will fly its 5th commercial space flight, just on Thursday, November 2nd. So we had a lot of fun back in the day. I was working on that project right from the beginning on day one in 2004, where we were writing investment memorandums to get the funding to build a spaceship. And it doesn't sound so crazy now with Bezos and Elon Musk doing their thing, and it was in 2004. It was kind of difficult to imagine that a private company would be putting passengers into space, but everyone at that point assumed it was one of Sir Richard's publicity stunts, of which he had done many. So that was a pretty decent assumption. But the reality was, and this goes a little bit to what Ralph and Terry were just talking about, Richard had a vision, and the technology had been funded and proven, at least at an experimental stage, by the late Paul Allen, who decided to enter the X Prize, which was a $10 million prize for developing a private spaceship that could fly twice in 2 weeks to space. And that societal change, humanity really was starting to see some compelling reasons to bring down the cost of access to space dramatically, which of course Elon Musk saw as well. Space shouldn't just be the domain of governments. So although we had no idea it would take as long as it did, and no idea it would take as much capital as it did, we were all inspired by that vision. And we probably suspended our disbelief a little bit to really focus on putting together the business and the technology to bring the vision to life. And I think that's an important lesson, right? That, for public safety and elsewhere, which is that the combination of vision, belief, technology, hard work, and determination, and of course the capital to pull everything together, can create a paradigm shift that can impact thousands or millions or maybe even billions of lives. And sometimes all it takes is a leap of faith, as well as, of course, the more practical side of things, partnerships and trust, as Ralph and Terry have said. So I think that could work in public safety just as well as it can work anywhere.
No, very well said, and I think it's so exciting when you see the things come to fruition. Your point on timing is also seen in the Virgin Galactic example, where sometimes we're not ready for the technology when it comes, and I think often the most amazing technology sometimes is ahead of adoption, right? And that's something that I think is hard, oftentimes in public safety, where we're slow due to government procurement and things to adopt things quickly, even when the rest of the world, the commercial sector, has started to use new technology. I don't think public safety was the first in line for an iPhone or for smartphones in general, but at the same point, look at how far we've come. With that said, for the last 10 minutes or so that we have, I really want us to focus on the areas that you're most excited about that are going to change in 911 and in public safety. And so with that, I'd like to call on maybe Ralph next again. What are the areas that are most exciting to you that you see are coming, and what kind of change do you see happening in public safety in 911?
PJ, I am super excited about what I heard Michael Martin open the conference with. When I think of where we have been to where we are now, I think we're at the pivotal point for public safety innovation. And the reason I say that is just Rapid SOS has tremendous capabilities to inject innovation from outside that is not present in the system. When I see Rapid SOS and GeoCom working together to bring in a scalable point, the inside building mapping and the Z coordinate to know where the help is needed, to me, that's a game changer. But yet I see the same thing of being able to ingest video, not just location from first responders, to be able to break video from locations, from buildings to help. And all of this at a time when AI is flourishing. So to me, it's the perfect storm of innovation that, if properly nurtured, like Jonathan was saying, the timing is now. The timing is right for public safety innovation to bring about significant improvements that help them save more lives and protect us even better than they've ever done before.
So well said, Ralph. I agree. And indoor mapping and Z-axis is something that in public safety we've always wanted. It's something that we refer to it often as the Holy Grail, and then being able to provide that to first responders on the other end is the next step. So it's so great to see that starting to happen now today and available today. Terry, going to jump over to you next on what you see as the future that's here now or should be here now.
Yeah, so TJ, to me, it's all about the power of data. I mean, you can't go anywhere today without people talking about generative AI and artificial intelligence and all the different applications. And I don't think it's really any different for Rapid SOS. Data now is being created and analyzed, and the ability to interact has never been better. What does it do? It's interesting. Data, number one, creates these incredible insights, and its best form, it creates prediction. It's being able to anticipate something is going to happen in the future. The second thing is it allows for precision. When I think about 911 and public safety, I actually immediately think of two analogous areas in the area of data. One is healthcare, and the other one is education, the area that I'm in now. So healthcare, precision medicine. And in education, Sal Khan, the founder of the Khan Academy, just did a TED Talk on Khanmigo, which is going to be their use of generative AI that's a personal tutor. And the idea that says, hey, instead of one to many, you're able to understand that student in front of you and their unique needs. And so this whole idea about the power of data, to me, is an incredible opportunity. Now, in every case, you always have to think about data privacy. Are people aware of what data is being received? But if you manage that well and share what that upside is, in 911, to know with precision, location information, to know who's the person that's calling. Do they have a medical history background that would allow you to serve them even better? I think we're in this era across a lot of sectors, but especially public safety, healthcare, education, that are fundamental industries to our lives and as societies. That ability to use that data to be more precise, to have insights, to predict, that ultimately improve costs and actually predict outcomes, improve those outcomes, and reduce costs. So that you create broader accessibility. I think these things are really transformational developments.
Could agree more, Terry. And I think that large amounts of data and large models of data and AI are going to be probably the biggest thing that changes in the next 5 to 10 years. For the sake of time, I'm going to jump in front of Jonathan for a second with a question that came off of the chat on the session today to jump in here, and I'll ask Jonathan to try to answer it, or anybody else can jump in as well. But currently, there are many guardrails around getting innovation into emergency response systems to ensure security and reliability with public systems. What do you see as a managed ecosystem looking like in the future for emergency systems to balance reliability while also still increasing innovation? So kind of that balance in the question of government guardrails that slow down innovation versus actually making that happen. Jonathan, your thoughts?
Well, it reminds me of a comment we get a lot of the time when we go, in my current role, when we go talk to anyone in banking or insurance or healthcare. The CEO or the CTO will often say, look, we're the most heavily regulated industry. We can't innovate. It's impossible. We can't get anything done. And so every organization thinks they're heavily regulated, but there's always a way to innovate. And often that starts with just what are the big problems that we need to solve. And in my current role, again, I see more acceptance than ever that startups can help be a part of that solution. So, established organizations, and I would put a lot of public safety organizations in that bucket. I would encourage them, just like I encourage our clients in my Accenture role, to partner with startups, to talk to them, to learn from them, to run experiments with them, to sort of solve problems together rather than entering into a vendor-supplier relationship. Enter into a true partnership so that you can build this ecosystem together, because you need to bring that innovation into the ecosystem in order to break new boundaries and create and push the paradigm forward.
What a great suggestion, Jonathan. And I think we all know that partnerships are key, but I think the way you describe that is something I've seen work as well, which is, allow these startups, both with legacy companies and with agencies, to come in and help drive and push the limits of what's doable today. And do it in a way where you partner with them. It doesn't have to be about a procurement. It can be about working together from the early days so that they can listen and learn from you, much the way Rapid SOS was created, by listening and learning from 911 operators and being able to communicate and hear what they needed most. And I think that's also needed as we go forward overall as an industry, is to really embrace that startup mentality of, move quickly, but also with the mission focus and the big vision we talked about earlier in the session.
Peachey, the other
Absolutely.
point I would add, and I think Jonathan hit on this, but I think it's okay to run small trials. One that is not, you don't have to take the big mothership and try everything there. Try something in a small location, a small geographic area. I did that in my career when I had operations in 200 countries. I would try some things in a small country that I would never try in a big country until they're proven. So there are ways to communicate the significance of the change. And once you show somebody, you quit talking about PowerPoint. So you show them how you can solve problems. It becomes that, what if we could implement this in the system? What benefits will it bring? And all of a sudden, the bureaucracy begins to bend and open its doors to the innovation.
Mm-hmm.
Ralph, that's so perfect. I think it's a great note to end on today, is that this process of having small pilots and projects, maybe small agencies or small parts of agencies that can really try new technology. And one of the things I've always seen in public safety, they're often late adopters. I represent that myself. But at the same point, when they see somebody else has a new technology or tool that's working, they will fight you to get their hands on it. And it becomes the adoption curve that you want from that. And that's also good when they see it working in their peers. They really rely on their public safety peers to recommend what's working for them. And so you really have to get that technology in their hands. With that said, I really want to thank both Ralph and Terry and Jonathan for talking about innovation today. We could probably do this for 4 hours. We've done a great job, though, of keeping it into 30 minutes, so I really appreciate that. If anybody has any follow-up questions for myself or any of the panelists, I'm more than happy to respond to that. You can reach me at tj@publicsafety.network. And feel free to reach out anytime, and we'd be more than happy to connect you with any of the panelists here today or be of a resource to all of you as you innovate going forward. Thanks so much for joining us.